5 years ago, News 8 began investigating problems at for-profit schools in North Texas. We found that students at some complained of high-pressure recruiting, incompetent teachers, and high tuition. And they said they were promised jobs after graduation that never materialized. And those complaints have not gone away. And Channel 8's Byron Harris is here to tell us that discontent is rising.
Yes, it is, Gloria and John. There's really only one reason students spend thousands of dollars to go to for-profit schools: to get a job. News 8 has learned that the employment records of hundreds of students at Everest College in Arlington were falsified for years, despite the fact that the problem was discovered months ago. Most of the students don't know they were victims. Tonight, News 8 investigates.
I needed a fresh start. I picked a great school to go to.
Everest, they're always there to help you.
Everest College, an arm of the billion-dollar-a-year for-profit Corinthian College Network, a PR machine all about getting jobs for students. Here's a Corinthian ad that ran for weeks in papers like the New York Times and the Dallas Morning News, headlined by an Everest College graduate called Carolyn, who says, "Even before I graduated, I already had a job waiting for me."
We called Corinthian colleges and asked to interview Carolyn, but the company wouldn't let us, nor would it tell us her full name or where she worked. That's important because it turns out for years Everest falsified the jobs of hundreds of students.
Here are just two of Everest's phantom job holders. State records show Everest claims its graduate Terry Prey got a job as a medical insurance specialist with a firm called Alexis Duchess.
I have never heard of them. I don't know who they are.
State records show Everest claims graduate Jyoti Tanmar got a job as a pharmacy technician at a firm called Paramount Multi-Services.
I never worked at Paramount Multi-Services, and Everest never got me a job.
News 8 discovered the bogus job claims after months of reviewing state records. Everest College, through its parent Corinthian colleges, declined to go on camera. In a written response, Corinthian admitted to News 8 that the job records of 288 students were falsified between December of 2007 and April of this year. Alexis Duchess, that's where Ms. Prey and 175 other students were supposed to have worked. Alexis Duchess did not even exist, Corinthian says. An affidavit shows Alexis was a paper company used by Everest's Career Services Director, Irma Spears. Her Facebook friend, Catherine Duchess Henderson, was supposed to be the proprietor. And Paramount Services, where Jyoti Tanmar was supposed to have worked, did exist, but never employed 112 Corinthian grads, according to the company.
She's going to start like, $14 plus per hour.
Jyoti's dad saw an Everest ad on TV and took her in for an interview. He believed the job placement claims and convinced her to go to school there. They got a federal loan to pay for it, and they're obligated for $310 a month until 2018. The Tanmars say they were unaware they'd even signed a loan agreement until after Jyoti's graduation.
And you got to pay back somehow. It doesn't matter how you're going to pay.
8 out of every $10 that Corinthian takes in comes from federal grants and loans. The Texas Workforce Commission is supposed to regulate for-profit schools in the state. The TWC requires that schools obtain jobs for 60% of their graduates, jobs directly related to what they study. A school that dips consistently below that level risks losing federal money. The Texas Workforce Commission keeps those figures private and has repeatedly denied News 8's request for the records under the Texas Public Information Act. Even a quick examination of Everest's paperwork at the Workforce Commission would have raised a red flag. Alexis Duchess, an unknown company, was everywhere.
So describe to me how good a job you think you've done in regulating Texas proprietary schools.
I do think it's good. We have representatives that monitor once a year. We also track all that documentation I mentioned earlier.
That would include the lists of the 288 phantom employees.
How was this not caught? This is at Everest College.
This is really wonderful information for us to use, for us to look into Everest.
In fact, Everest's parent, Corinthian Colleges, wrote the state this letter back in August, notifying the TWC that the company discovered 3 employees at its Arlington campus had falsified job records.
So what documents do you inspect?
We all the documents I was describing, their financial records, the records of how many students completed, how many students got jobs in that field, and things like that.
Where's the regulator in all this?
Having coffee? I don't know. I don't know where they are.
As an admissions director at Everest, Terry Evans became concerned about forged job records. She quit, and last June complained about records problems to the Texas Workforce Commission. The state never called her back.
I've gotten no response back. Not even a thank you for your information.
Everest's parent Corinthian Colleges has revealed more about the situation than the state of Texas, but still there are questions. The college says Paramount Services was a real company, a pharmaceutical call center. News 8 has discovered Paramount was a phone bank, which lost its business to a company in the Philippines. Corinthian says it has an in-house audit group that verifies job placement, but it was formed 4 years ago, before the 288 jobs were falsified.
Now, Corinthian's job placement rates at its Arlington campus have plummeted in some fields due to the phony records, from about 70% to about 40%. Most of the students involved have no idea their records were falsified. We asked Corinthian if they'd get their money back, an estimated $4 million in tuition. No answer to that question. Corinthian says if you're a former Everest student in Arlington with a concern, contact them. There's more on our website, including documents.